Next week is holidays, right?
No.
Or is it this week?
We got a couple weeks. 2 weeks.
Oh my God, okay.
Nice to be retired.
I was gonna say.
Dated.
I'd like to call this meeting to order in open session. Welcome to this evening's hybrid Board of Trustees meeting being held both in person and virtually. This meeting has been made accessible to members of the public on the link at Moreland School District's website and on board docs. Any person who requires accommodation to access the meeting has been asked to contact the superintendent's office within 24 hours of this meeting. This meeting is being recorded and may be published online at a later date. All right. That being said, I'd like to report that there's no action taken closed. All right. And today we have nobody to lead us in flag salute.
You are the leader.
Have the leader.
Alright.
Right. Please raise, put your hand on your heart. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
So we all get to ask for questions. What's your favorite book? Read.
I'd like to report out that there's no action taken in closed session. And with that, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Coming in, or is he just coming in?
He said he is coming in.
Okay.
He was a few minutes away.
Okay, perfect.
All right. And that he would join us here.
Oh.
Comments from the public?
That's me. Members of the public may address the board on any subject of concern to you, including those not on tonight's agenda. However, provisions of the Brown Act preclude any action. As an unagendized item, no response is required or permitted from the board or district staff. And as already stated, no action can be taken. The board, however, may instruct the superintendent to follow up, which may or may not include placing the item on a future meeting's agenda. If you would like to address the board this evening, please complete the blue comment card within the first 15 minutes of the board meeting being called to order in public session. On the card, please list the agenda item you would like to speak to. If your comments do not pertain to an agendized item, please write public comment. When your name is called, please come to the podium and state your name and the organization you are representing. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per our board governance manual. Do we have any public comments this evening?
We do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. We'll now move to the superintendent's report.
All right, good evening, everybody. Well, before we dig into the report, I would like to say thank you to our 3 little EDS Huskies who had their lemonade stand for us and staff starting at 4 today. And you missed the K-pop Demon Hunters concert on top of their lungs. So just want to say thank you to the families for organizing that. And I know that all the proceeds will go to support MEF. And staff had fun with that, and I think we did too. So. All right, we'll move on to the next slide, Ulysses. Thank you. So tonight, Chris will present a more detailed outline of the governor's proposed budget for K-12. In a nutshell, the governor is providing some one-time additional resources to schools, but at the same time, he is reducing the COLA, which is what we consider our ongoing revenue. So over the past several years, Moreland has made some very intentional decisions to protect student supports in our schools using those one-time COVID funds from state and federal to make sure we could keep those supports in schools. And I think, as you know, those COVID funds have now expired. So as we look into building out our budget for the next 3 years, we're going to be looking at our enrollment, our staffing, and making some adjustments. And then I wanted to let people know that starting maybe later this week or next week, We'll be going out to our schools, presenting our budget and bringing our community and staff involved. We met with MTA Exec Board last night to talk about this. So we are gearing up for a season of budget and staffing and conversations around that. So, and then we'll turn it over to Chris tonight to give you some of the details of the budget. Next slide, please. Well, Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service. I want to extend a big thank you to Assembly Member Mark Berman for spending Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Latimer Garden. Moreland School District Board President Sriram Chatrathi and Principal Hillary Gill joined more than 50 volunteers, including students, staff, family, and community members. And so we want to thank parent, volunteer, and MEF Representative Amy Cody for putting that wonderful event together. So thank you for being there. Next slide. All right, it has been a busy week in schools for visitors. So Baker Elementary had the top fourth grade readers this month in the San Jose Sharks reading program. So Sharky and the Sharks, goaltender Alex, let me see if I can get this right, Nedeljkovic, came to visit Baker last Thursday. The player, who goes by Ned, answers student questions about his favorite books, which happen to be Harry Potter and Percy Jackson, and favorite team to play, the New York Rangers. Congratulations to fourth grade teacher, Mr. Slater, and his fourth graders for winning that reading award. That's amazing. And then the Sharks have a minor league team, the San Jose Barracudas, who visited Anderson Elementary yesterday. They set up the roller rink for a partnership with Kaiser Permanente's Healthy Living campaign. 2 fifth grade classes hit the blacktop with 4 Barracuda players to learn the fundamentals of hockey and entered into a scrimmage. We had ABC 7 News, KTVU, and KCBS Radio attend and interviewed 5th grade teacher Cedeno Hernandez. Every student went home with a stick and a ball, be careful, plus tickets to a future Barracuda and San Jose Sharks game.
Amazing.
So plus Sharks ice skating passes. So a really big thank you to the Sharks for this partnership and for supporting our students. Next slide. Oh, next slide. Sorry. Let's see. I know the holidays are over, but I think you're going to want to hear this. So we had our food drive. We completely shattered any previous collection records we have ever set with a 298% increase over last year. So our donations this year were the equivalent of 11,776 meals. Last year, it was 2,957 meals. So really big thank you to the Moreland community for their generosity, and very excited to have that partnership with West Valley Community Services. Next slide.
Loved the QR code, by the way. That
QR
was
code.
amazing.
I think that was very helpful.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Keep doing that. I would like to thank our music teacher, Nils Johnson, for hosting the jazz workshop last week at EDS. A really great evening where both EDS and MMS jazz bands had the opportunity to see local professional jazz musicians perform and then get instruction and training from them. Thank you to all the parents, students, and musicians who attended, and thank you to MEF because I believe they do support this workshop and have for many, many years. Next slide, please. All right, we've received really great feedback from our President's Council last month on enrollment, and we are broadening our outreach to spread the good word about our district. So in addition to our digital ads, Maureen delivered copies of our annual report to realtors' offices in the area to promote our district. We also had to add an additional TK tour date because the demand has been so high, and we are working on a parent testimonial campaign for social media.
That is awesome.
And then last but not least, we are having our very own job fair here at the Moreland District office. That will be on March 11th for certificated staff members who are looking to join the Moreland team. We are promoting this event with local colleges and online as we share what makes our district so special. So we're hosting our very own, and I don't know that we've had this in a long time, if ever. And so we're really excited about this. Thank you for this addition. And anyone out there that's listening, this is a great place to work. So we invite you to that March 11th job fair for certificated positions. All right. And that is what I have for this part of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Khan. Board communications, what did you want to report?
Nothing to report on my end. Nothing to report.
For me to report.
All right, I got a few things to kind of report out. One, thank you, Dr. Card, for talking about the day of service at Latimer Garden. I had the pleasure and the honor of being there as well, and welcoming Assemblyman Mark Berman and his team. They came as an entourage. There were a lot of people, and they were not afraid of getting their hands dirty. They rolled up their sleeves, and they really helped out. It wasn't just be there for the photo sessions for social media kind of a thing. They were really genuinely interested in wanting to be there. So thank you for that. Thank you to Assemblyman's office. And post that, I also got a email from one of the leads in their office offering any kind of support and help to the school board, to the school district as needed. Obviously, we have a channel of communications open to them as well. So that was one. Second thing is I represented the board in a conversation with Annalise Berwick, I think her last name, and she is from Supervisor Ellenberg's office, and she reached out because she is the coordinator for all the work that the supervisor does for schools and libraries in the community. So she was kind of like doing a roadshow and wanted to kind of get to know all of the school districts and what our priorities are, etc. And so I talked about what makes Moreland special, what makes us us, and again, I connected her with Maureen because I think there's a wonderful opportunity to kind of do a bunch of things together. Like, for example, Maureen will have a lot more ideas, but even as the simple things as having Supervisor Ellenberg to be at one of our reading days, for example, because she has done that in other schools and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of opportunities to kind of get Moreland's name out there as well. So more to come on that. So those are the two main updates for me.
Thank you, Shriram. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Absolutely. All right. MTA union update. Have Michelle. Hello.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So we have a few shout outs, not many. We have the winter theme because it is technically still winter. Danielle Cromwell, Jeffrey Spafford. It was so great to be at science camp with these rock star Latimer teachers. We had so much fun hanging out all week with you, Brenda, Valine, and Jennifer Howe. That's a great picture. All the Payne staff, huge shout out to the entire Payne team, certificated staff, classified staff, and our fearless yard duty heroes. Your positivity, growth mindset, and roll up your sleeves attitude fuel student growth every single day. Because of you, Payne is a place where students feel supported, inspired, and genuinely excited to show up and learn. Thank you for bringing the heart, hustle, and belief in our kids. It shows and it matters. Jeanette and Mariah.
Thank you.
Joanna Simon and Heather Walker, thanks for your thoughtful conversation on student work and sharing resources for informational writing. Jeffrey Spafford. EDS sixth grade team, admin and more. Thank you to Maylee Klein, Joseph Sin, Laura Flanders, Abby Fernandez, Katie Morris, Tomi Fujikawa, Sherry Vasquez, Chelsea Ainscow, Maria Kinney, and Kim Valentine for supporting me while I was sick and also helping with the transition as I take maternity leave. What an amazing group of teammates. Kelly, come on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I know it takes a lot of effort to kind of put a deck together, and I really appreciate this. So because
I mean, does the book.
Oh, it's awesome.
yeah,
Thank you, Joanna.
so thank you.
But thank you for coming and reading them.
Thank you. I'll go home.
Thank you.
And for 5B, report on the 2026-2027 governor's budget proposal, Chris.
All right. So as you know, the governor's state proposal came out in January, it does every year. And so Efren and I went up to the school services workshop and kind of give us an overview. So I'm here to kind of present the general. As you know, there's a whole process, comes out in January. The trailer language comes out in February, then we get to the May revise, then we get to the budget, right, the whole process. So this is just the first stab at it from the governor. So I'm just going to go over a few things so you kind of see kind of what this budget is looking like. All right, the first one is kind of the budget and the economy. So this kind of, you know, the gross domestic product, I'm not going to read every one, but equities market is a new all-time high. There is some uncertainty in the stock market, as we know. A lot of it is being driven by a few of the tech companies. So there's still that out there. He does have a balanced budget for the 26-27 fiscal year, but projects a deficit. This is the overall state budget, not just education side. Projects a deficit of $22 billion in the 27-28. So that is, you know, something that we're looking at. California tax collections are outperforming projections. One of the things on this slide that I think, you know, we want to highlight is that the governor's budget for the revenue is based on everything pretty much staying status quo. So no economic recession, stock market stays the same. So he's really relying on that. We know how volatile it can be just with the overall political environment, the ups and downs of the stock market. So it's something that we'll be looking out for as we progress through the year. This is our big three, our taxes. So our personal income tax, corporation tax, and sales tax. What I want to highlight here is the enacted budgets. You can see all came in slightly lower than the governor's budget. So it's something that, you know, we're going to look at. You know, a lot of times he's a little bit higher, not too bad, but a little bit higher. So we're going to be watching that as the LAO comes out with their recommendations and moving forward. The minimum guarantee. So the 26-27 minimum guarantee is looking at about 7.7 billion higher than the LAO predicted in November. That's going to be great for education because that's an additional 7.7 that we get towards that guarantee. However, and I'll talk about it a little bit, overall is the governor's personal income tax assumptions are about 17 billion higher. So these are all assumptions that they're making. So we need them to come through fruition for this budget to kind of stay status quo. So something we're going to be looking at. And then one of the things, I think it's the next slide. So Prop 98. So I think Newsom, you know, this is last year proposing a budget, wants to put his mark on education. Over 70% of new spending is proposed for core education and key enrichment programs, which is great. And then nearly 1/3 is available funding to use to kind of replenish that rainy day fund. So this kind of gives you kind of an overview of where his priorities are. However, if you look at that last part, he is drawing from last year's playbook, which is proposing a 5.6 billion settle up, which is 26% of the new education funding. So he's using this to address the deficit on the other side of the budget, so the non-education side. So here are some risks to our Prop 98 local budgets. So declining enrollment, we know, especially in Santa Clara County and across the state, enrollment is going down. And so with that, it kind of offsets any, you know, potential gains we get. So we get COLA, which is at a 2.4 is what they're projecting, but with declining enrollment, kind of offsets it. So with that, we are looking at just making adjustments to align with our student enrollment. Deficit spending. So, you know, a bunch of districts are deficit spending. We as a district have been purposely and intentionally been spending down our fund balance to, you know, for the students now. And so we're going to look at making those adjustments as folks said. And then that Prop 98 settle up is concerning. And so what that means basically, I believe it's the next slide, go ahead, is right here. So the settle up. So what he's doing is he's purposely underfunding the guarantee. And so what that means is at the end, there's a settlement, right? So the guarantee is in the Constitution. X percentage needs to go. So if it's 120, he's coming in saying it's going to be, like 150 billion is what he's going to fund. At the end of the year, there's a settlement. The problem with this is just a comparison is in the past, the state has suspended the Prop 98 guarantee. Then the maintenance factor comes into play. With that, there's certain criteria. So it's adjusted for inflation. So as that money, they're holding on to it, it gets adjusted when they finally owe it, it grows. So it grows with the COLA and the changes in the ADA. There's a constitutional requirement to repay it once the general fund revenues outpace personal income. And there's a formula in the Constitution. That's our maintenance factor. With the settle up, which is what he's proposing, is it doesn't get adjusted for inflation. It'll be paid back at a future time, but there's no actual timeline. So it's up to the director of finance to determine in a state adopted schedule what that looks like. So we don't really know when that money would come back to us. So it's a little tricky. Then he can kind of allocate it how he wants. You can assign it to specific programs. So we're going to keep an eye on that to see. School services is big in education, and they are advocating kind of against that of how he's doing it. So it's something we're going to look at as we progress through the year.
And
This
what kind of economic conditions would cause them to do that suspension?
Well, when they feel they can't afford it. So if the projections are coming in at like 115 and LA is saying, we can only afford 100 or 100 billion, right? So then they would come in and say, we're going to suspend it. Then there's that maintenance factor. So like if let's say the stock market took a dive, that's where a lot of our income, corporation taxes comes from.
Yeah.
That took a dive, they look and be like, oh, we need to do it. So last time they did it, I go back.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah, it was 23, 24 was the last time.
Okay.
So they did. So it's been pretty recent. We don't do it often.
Okay.
And right now the assumptions and the projections are looking good. So they're not looking to do that, but he's using the settle up instead, which is a little trickier. Here's our LCFF funding factors. Base grants, 2.41% COLA added to that. So I won't go through all of that, but this is what we'll use for our assumptions when we do the second intro in March. What he's doing too, though, with this settle up, he is offsetting the reduction of COLA. So it was projected at about 3.01. He's lowered it to 2.41. He is proposing another discretionary block grant. They are predicting that it's going to be fully discretionary like the one we received this year. As a district, if it's based on the same criteria, we would get about 1.5, 1.6 million from it, which would help. However, the one-time funds are just that one-time funds. When you lower your COLA, you're lowering kind of your ongoing revenue in out years. And so the reduction from the 3% to the 2.4 is, about 400 to 500,000 that we're losing in ongoing revenue moving forward. So it does affect us. So we're going to look at that, but hopefully this stays where it is because that will help. These are just some of the recommendations, but they are predicting that it's fully discretionary. But again,
so when we say a one-time fund for 26, 27, 28 rolls around, that is completely gone. There's no...
If we were to spend it, you get like 3 to 4 years to spend it. Usually there's like guidelines around it. We don't spend it all in the 1 year.
Sure. But there's no more.
There's no more money. Yeah. So what we'll do is, and you'll see when we do the second interim, we will use some of these assumptions is we'll have that assumption for state revenue in there.
Okay.
In the out years, you'll see that it'll drop.
Okay.
So like if we assume we're getting $1 million in the 26, 27, there'll be an additional $1 million. And then the out years, you'll see that
the zero.
Because you're not getting that revenue.
Right.
So,
and is the distribution really usually just that year, or do they break it out into like 1.5 over 3 years or something?
It varies. This year, so the discretionary grant we got this year, they broke it into 2 allocations. So we received a chunk of it. We got about a little over $1 million this year. I think we got about 700,000 to 800,000 in the first chunk, and then the next chunk comes in. Okay. But usually they give it within that year.
Okay.
And then you have 3 years to spend.
So in the budget assumptions, because you mentioned it would show up in the 1 year and then not in the following years, right? Would we identify how much we were going to spend?
Yes, typically we do, we put those and say, okay, we want to spread it out over the 3 years.
Perfect.
This is where we want to allocate it for.
Right.
We do not spend it all in 1 year. So that'll help with, the adjustments, but it is one time and it's not. And then this is just a projection dartboard. Just the one change really on this one is the COLA. So it went from a 3.02 down to a 2.41. And like I said, that's about 450,000 of ongoing funds that we're losing by that reduction in COLA. And so the road ahead, as I stated earlier, we had the governor's budget in January. The budget trailer language will come out in February. They'll have all their subcommittees talk about it. The LAO will come out with their recommendations, and then we'll have the May revise. And that's when we'll get a better understanding of what the budget's going to look like. And then we'll have the budget in June, which is actually before the state budget gets approved, but it's the standard process. But we'll continue to look out on any major changes, keep everyone up to date with.
Thanks. Thank you, Chris. Any questions from you folks? All right. And this is a report, so no action necessary. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Right. Moving to discussion and action items. Approved resolution of authorizing the Moreland School District to enter into a transaction with California Department of Education.
Right. This is about our preschool, regarding our preschool. This is actually already approved. I mentioned it in the Friday report. There just needed to be an update in the date. And so we've done that here. In addition, in a resolution, there's a signature page that you all have. And in that, we had a historical document that listed Sriram as the clerk. And so we have posted that incorrectly. And so we will be signing the correct resolution.
Yes.
But we do ask that you approve the resolution 04/2025/2026 to continue our agreement with the state for our state preschool.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Questions?
Oh, sorry.
Any questions from anybody? No? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I put in a motion to approve the resolution 2526, authorizing the Moreland School District to enter into a transaction with the California Department of Ed,
As amended.
as amended.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. 6B, approve the 2024-2025 school accountability report card.
Right, it's my pleasure to bring before you our school accountability report cards, also known as SARCs. And each of the schools are attached below. And this is an annual item, but it's important because it provides transparency for our families, our community. And the data, sometimes it's a little bit of a year behind, but it is something that parents can always count on, that they can go to our websites and find the SARCs, and it does provide a little bit of information that our SIPSIS does not provide. So I think it is a valuable resource. So we do ask that the Board of Trustees approves our 2024-25 school accountability report cards.
So this is kind of like more of a high level summary of the SIPSA, in other words, right? But looking.
Yes, and it does cover a few different things, like our MOT, quality of our buildings and such, our good rating, and some of the things that the SIPSAs don't necessarily go into. The SIPSA is more data driven in terms of performance, but the SARC does include some of those things, but it additionally has some of the things as well.
Got it. Any questions from the board?
Just an acknowledgement. It's a lot of work, but really, really important information. And so thank you to you, your team, everyone involved, I'm sure principals and absolutely everyone in the district to make sure it's as accurate as can be and
Absolutely.
transparent.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I did say hi, right?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm like, I eyed under my breath.
Remember to vote.
Yeah, I know. All right, the mid-year LCAP report.
It is our pleasure, Mr. Chris Rivera and myself will be presenting the mid-year LCAP. Go ahead. This is a little background that I provide is that this began during COVID. We didn't previously have a mid-year report. It is actually kind of a nice check-in for us to see where are we with some of our data points. And so that is the intention, is that you're not just waiting till the end to look at your progress and also share publicly where we are midway through the year. So what we'll be doing tonight is going through each of our goals. And what we will do is share the goals. As you remember, they resemble, mirror the strategic plan and discuss kind of our progress thus far in those areas. Some of the data is not available at this time. In fact, the iReady is currently, they're taking those tests right now and through February. So the iReady data is not there, but at least we'll show you what we will be presenting in June.
Okay.
All right, so we will begin with goal 1, which is students are academically prepared. And our first metric is, and you can compare the final window versus our first window. So that was the end of the year last year, compared in Fontaine Pinel to the first window. So while you see what may appear as a decline, you're comparing the end of the year versus the beginning of the year. So I am an optimist eternally, and I think that these scores will actually, by the end of the year, especially with our early literacy focus, will definitely see some positive results. So I'm actually excited to see where we land at the end of the year on this particular one. Again, our iReady benchmarks are not available, they're in progress. And so this is our CASP data. In the SIPs, as you saw, the principals present the CASP data for their schools. This is our chance to present to you the overall data for all students and also all of our subgroups. And so you see kind of a level performance with slight increase in certain areas. One of the things that I think we want to keep our eye on is our socioeconomically disadvantaged students. Very pleased to see some increase in our special education students. That was pleasing to see that progress. And we definitely had some real highlights and pockets, as you saw in the SIPs, as some improvements that we're excited about. And again, this is the iReady benchmarks that were in progress, but textbook sufficiency is important, and we have 100% sufficiency in our textbooks, which is basically means that all students have access to curriculum materials. And I'll just say that I can, when we finish that second window in February, I can provide something in the Friday report just to keep you updated on the iReady.
I think that'd be great. Yeah. Thank you. Great.
All right. And then LPAC is off to a good start. Our reclassification rate is 8.2, which is an increase already in midway through, and we're just really starting our second round here. Again, we're just starting our second round, so the 31.6 is halfway. So hopefully if we could double that, we would surpass our rate from last year. So excited about that. The LTEL number is basically what percent of the LTELs are out of that total EL student population. So that's more of not like a progress, but just a report of a number. So now I'm at the stage of having glasses, so I have to keep looking. But at this point, we're at a little bit higher number, 15.1%.
And what's LTEL?
Long-term English learners, thank you for asking.
Okay.
Forget all of these acronyms and education. All right, next slide. All right, and then we're really excited about our MORE program, our after-school enrichment and ELOP program. We are serving more unduplicated students already, and I think that makes a huge difference. We'll be bringing to you next month the attendance information that you had requested, and that's one of the things we're really looking at is how can we use our MORE program to also do some attendance recovery. But the increases there are increasing midway through the year. And then students have a broad course of study, 100%. At this point in the year, our least restrictive environment, that is 61% of our students, which is actually a decrease from the 65% of our students participating in the general education day. So that is the mainstreaming. I'm not explaining that quite right. I'll say it one more time so it's really clear. The students participating in our general education for 80% or more of their day, last year, our end of the year number was 65%. Currently, at this point in the year, is 61%. It's a slight decline. We still are having IEPs through the year, and perhaps that number could increase. And that's our hope, and we're definitely pushing for that. But I think it's bringing to the surface, we need to continue the inclusion conversation. All right, next slide.
So just so that I read that in my mind correctly, just say if the mid-year 61% means that 61% of the students are participating in general ed 80% or more of the time.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's indication of moving away from IEPs and into the gen ed, or not necessarily.
No, basically, within the IEP, we say how much time should this student be mainstreaming,
Okay,
right? And
Okay.
so our goal is to have them mainstreaming as much as possible.
got it. Okay,
And so if we're decreasing in the amount they're mainstreaming, even if it's slight,
okay,
it's something that we want to take a look at.
okay, got it. That helps. Thank you.
But it's driven really by the IEP and student need, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There are also things that you can look at, like how much time are we pulling out students with IEPs out of the gen ed classroom to do other intervention, right? So sometimes kids can be pulled out multiple times a day, which then decreases the amount of time that they're in the general education classroom, accessing their typically developing peers. So there are some levers and some things for us to really look at carefully within scheduling and intervention and how much time are kids in the classroom versus being pulled out. So it's not just driven by the IEP.
So that's really interesting because I always been curious. We hear about it in SIPSAs and some very different philosophies and reasons for push in, pull out, all of those things. And so I would be curious to kind of learn more about that.
I mean, best practice is that you would do more push in rather than pull out. And so the more you pull out of the general ed classroom, the less time you have access to that grade level curriculum,
Right.
More time in intervention. So yes, schooling is organizing it is a very difficult challenge.
And who is it? Is the burden on the teacher in the classroom to kind of track all of this data? Because it looks like it is like, how do you keep track of this? Is it on a student by student basis?
So the place that we gather this data from is from CIRUS, our special ed database.
Okay.
And so you actually do a search and it searches the IEPs and it comes up with this number.
Okay.
So that's where that data point comes from. But again, I think what Dr. Cotta is saying is it makes there's so many other aspects than just the IEP in terms of how this should actually be looked at and maybe recorded. So there possibly are other ways that we should consider, within a school site, of making measures of this.
And maybe this is an extremely naive question. How often can an IEP change for a particular student during a year once it's established? Is it fairly flexible that they could make changes to it as depending on progress, lack of progress? Okay.
Yeah, so we usually have annual IEPs, but there are amendments and there are always the opportunity to bring together an IEP meeting,
Okay. Thank you.
right? So we are very excited about all of our actions, probably listed more than we have time to talk about, but I'll highlight a couple of them that we're especially excited about. The writing units is something that we are seeing as we go through the school buildings being implemented, and with fidelity. They're actually really gravitating towards these units, and you heard even in the shout outs how they're helping each other and comparing notes and sharing ideas around them, which kind of leads to the communities of practice and our professional development. I don't think I mentioned that, but our professional development feedback rate is at 98 point something percent, which is a vast improvement. It's almost a 10-point improvement from last year. And so that's the communities of practice, as well as our Stanford CSET program in mathematics. We have received a lot of positive feedback because they have had time to really talk about the writing units and plan together and build bridges across our district to really implement that curriculum. And I think the other thing that they have, I have heard them at these communities of practice talking about, is the phonics and the phonemic awareness at the primary level. If you go into the first grade community of practice, it is a buzz. They are just very, even in December when everybody else had too much sugar, it was a buzz, and excited to hear them talking about the difference that our early literacy program is making for their kids, and continuing to build our stamina in small group reading, but adding this addition together is really making a strong program they're excited about for the kids. They're seeing the differences.
Just a quick question on the Stanford CSET program for the math professional development. That is still using the existing math curriculum, but it's more standardizing across the district how different sites are approaching
Instruction.
Instruction. Okay, got it.
And
how often is that? How often are these meetings?
Mostly once a month.
Okay.
For the most part. We also have a community of practice model that we are working with CSET.
Okay.
They kind of worked with us and planned together, and so they're doing something where we have a couple of teacher leaders in mathematics as well that are working with them in the planning. We will have 2 days that are just run by CSET, where we're looking at the framework, introducing kind of the new ways of teaching mathematics, and hopefully it will set the stage for our pilot introduction. What will not be a pilot, our new curriculum next year.
Right, got it. And are these excellence of, what was the word that you used? Sorry. The meetings.
Practice.
Communities of practice. I don't know why I was getting that. Excellence.
Because they're excellent.
They are excellent. That is true. I agree with that. Are they at a grade by grade level, or is it more like, they combine grades?
They are grade by grade level, except for middle school math.
Okay.
Has a separate group.
Separate group. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. And we just mentioned the math pilot. We're very excited about that. Dr. Codd and I were out in classrooms and seeing it in action. It was really fun to see the kids grappling with this new curriculum, and to see it right there and asking them questions and hearing how they're thinking about math in I felt like it was very rigorous way. So it was great.
And right now we're piloting one curriculum or two curriculums, two separate curriculums?
Right now, we're just piloting the California mathematics
Okay,
and we're doing that K-8.
got it.
And the second one will
The
be,
second one will be at the end of 6 weeks.
Got it. Oh, 6 weeks and then 6 weeks.
And then
Got it.
6
Okay.
weeks. Okay, and then just to kind of top this off, we're also learning leaders and spending our time both in ILT and in leadership, looking at the opportunity myth and opportunity makers and really trying to build coherence in our leadership and how we are learning and how we are putting together all of our initiatives and thinking about cohesion in our district. So, great. Now,
So as you know, back in June, we had a budget for the LCAP, so this is just mid-year expenditures. I felt a little left out, so I made my table bigger, so I have 2 slides. And you're gonna see, as any budget, there's the best guess of what we're gonna do. You're gonna see some positives, some negatives. We don't spend it, exactly straight down the 50-50 but this is basically from July through December. Next slide, you can see the end, really look at the graph, you can see it's a pretty good split though overall when we're looking at goal 1, 48-52 is kind of where we are. And so everything kind of evens out. The ones that don't have a budget, I kept in there just so you know we have those actions, but they don't necessarily have a budgetary tied to it. Could have been for our second year of the LCAP, could have bought the material for various reasons. But
So like, for example, for technology, we wouldn't expect it to be 124% of the expenditure for, like, got it.
Oh, Brian's.
Oh, Brian.
we love it.
oh, gosh.
all right. So moving on to goal 2, students are actively engaged in their communities and are globally aware. This is going to be okay. There is no current data. We use our climate and culture survey, which is given in April, and then the results from that feed into the LCAP. So at this point, we have no new data to speak about this. However, it's still very important. So we did talk to our school sites and solicit some information about what are they doing to meet this goal. And I love it when you think you know what's going on. I listen to Dr. Codd's reports, and then there's still some new things that I hadn't heard about. So I'll just highlight a couple from each, or one from each school. I was really excited about Anderson's junior yard duties, helping resolve minor conflicts. I think when we saw the leaders come to do the flags presentation, you could see that ownership and the leadership, and it really meant something to the kids, and to see that they're making a difference in their own schools. Fantastic. And Baker sent cards to troops overseas for the holidays. What a meaningful thing to do for kids. At Country Lane, students partnered with Loaves and Fishes to prepare 200 sack lunches for the unhoused in the 2nd grade. Next slide. And EDS, they did the gift of time, where they give their time to others. And when Dr. Codd and I were doing walkthroughs at EDS, we actually saw some pictures of their giving. And I saw this student helping their neighbor, picture of the student raking leaves for their neighbor. And I thought, how, in this world where sometimes we forget to make a difference in our own little society, in our little global world, it really touched me to see that picture.
Absolutely.
And Latimer collected 300 boxes of cereal on their cereal drive and hosted over 50 people on the Martin Luther King Day, which we saw today as well. Next slide. MMS, the Holiday Read Program, where the students go to their elementary schools and read. And I think that what a powerful statement, that reading is important, but also that I once was a student here, and now I'm being a role model for you and showing up. And I think that it's so meaningful for the teachers. Obviously, they get to see students again, but also for the kids receiving and giving. And Payne, I think we also saw the elevation of their student leadership, but the fact that they developed sportsmanship rules and kind of like combined to create regulations for themselves, what an empowering thing to do. As well as I love the walk and roll. So great highlights from our schools making a difference.
So goal 2, media expenditures, by action, again, you know, you can see some of the actions don't necessarily have a budget tied to them. But we are in line. Our main budget is about 63% compared to 37% expenses. So as we continue to go through the year, those numbers change. At the end, we do a final kind of LCAP expenditure. You know, with some of the discrepancies, maybe we overspent, underspent. We give an explanation of why, you know. So again, when you budget, you're giving your best guess of where we plan to land, and you know, at the end, we'll explain it.
So goal 3, students have a strong sense of belonging and social emotional well-being. And I think that this is again a great check-in to see where we're at midway through. Our SAR referrals are right on target. No concern there. The attendance rate is just slightly below, but almost virtually those are the same. But we're really trying to increase that right now, because that means income, if we can increase that. So that is an effort that we are trying to make. We will be talking about that more next month. The chronic absenteeism, however, this is a huge win for us. We're very excited to see this midway through the year. That's a significant drop, and that's something that we have been challenged with since COVID, is the chronic absenteeism rate. So to go from 13% to 10.4%, at least at this point in the year, is great progress.
Yeah, I just want to call that out. I know that I've seen a lot of school sites make a concerted effort in bringing that number down. It is really good to see quantitative data that supports all the work that the sites are doing.
It's a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah.
And every time they're asked, it's like a very personal one-on-one connection that's being made. And so I just want to echo, amazing to see it paying off.
Dr. Bowen, will we see that start to flow through to like the great schools, like those? Because part of that absenteeism is captured in the great schools numbers, right?
Yeah.
Or is it a totally different metric that's in that continues to give us this?
I'm not a grade school expert.
Yeah, I'm assuming they have to be pulling it from like states information, right?
Yeah, right.
Some reliable source. So it should, as our, you know, my assumption would be as the chronic absence goes down, it should start to reflect.
I know that they use the academic data for sure in the great schools to equate their number, but I'm not sure what are all this. That's something I could share with you.
That's okay. I think my hope is that it does the same thing, that we sort of see a lift.
It makes a difference, yes. Next slide. Again, these numbers are positive reflections of where we're at so far in terms of suspension rate. Nothing out of the ordinary here, kind of staying about the same. The expulsion rate, again, not done with, that one's great. And we don't have really a dropout rate. And as I mentioned before, our facility inspection tool is good, which is what we would expect from our facilities. So that's great. And again, these last metrics come from our climate and culture survey, and we will be checking on those in June. All right, so our action implementation, we've had a lot in this area of implementation, from professional development, specifically addressing trauma-informed practices that went over really well. And I've seen teachers really gravitate towards using some of these in their classroom, some of the things that they learned. We've also been including our classified staff in those trainings, and they have also received behavior trainings from our BCBAs, which is, I think, been monumental and instrumental in what we're trying to do with our behavior model. Because if you just have small groups of people knowing this information and not spreading it out, then you're only going to make this much progress. By spreading it out to all of the aides and empowering people to learn the strategies of managing behavior and supporting our students, you're going to have aides, teachers, and as well as our behavior staff supporting that progress. So we're really excited about that, and our Character Strong curriculum implementation has been going really well. I was planning on doing a Friday report at some point to give you the actual statistics on the usage, because we're able to track that. So that's great. And
Thanks, last time. Again, mid-year expenditures. I think on this one, the goal it's important to see like the action for the investment in the counselors, and then if you look at the next slide, this is the behavior support as well. So this goal is really there to support our students. You know, we've intentionally put in those supports to make sure, you know, this, you know, as we get farther and farther from COVID, but as we came back, we wanted to make sure we supported our students. So that's what this told. So we are on track, about 60%. Again, it, you know, fluctuates throughout the year.
And 4 and 9 show up as site counselors, etc. Right? Is that how?
Yeah. 4 is like the counselors, and then the behavior support or like our behavior techs.
Behaviors.
And these numbers are where you would expect them to be mid-year.
Yeah, there's no surprises.
Yeah.
We're right on. Sometimes, you know, they come a little lower if you have like a vacancy, so you wouldn't necessarily spend the money because you're not going to, somebody's not in the role. So until you fill it, so that's where you get those discrepancies on it. So, but yeah, nothing. There's no surprises when we go through.
Goal 4, staff partner with families and community to foster connection, communication, and equitable access. In our first slide here, we have one mid-year progress, and that's attendance. We have DLAC meetings, which is our district ELAC meeting, and we consider it 100% attendance when you have representatives from each school. That's very important to us that we have representatives from each school, and we do. So we're at 100% right now, and I hope to continue that through our DLAC meetings. Next slide. And several of these are not available until the end of the year, but we do have our community liaisons and actually really instrumental. I don't know if you had a chance to read the Express newsletter, but at the end there was a little feature on Leticia Tapia and the difference that she's making as a community liaison. And it's so important to have someone that is, again, connecting to the community and bringing our families into our schools.
How many community liaisons do we have? Is it 3?
We have 5. 5?
What?
Yeah, I didn't say that very sure because some of them are part-time, so I didn't want to go into.
It's okay.
But
I know we don't have them at every school. I was just trying to think about what schools we had them in.
yes. All right, and so for actions. Next slide. We again have a robust parent education program and continue to add to that and also improve. And we take feedback we get from parents and develop our programs further. And we are having enrichment opportunities through ELOP, and we're continuing our adult education classes. And I think one of the things we saw in the SIPSA is the community events that our sites are having is increasing. It's very good to see. I think almost everyone's having a math night at this time, you know, so that parent engagement and involvement is definitely increasing.
Go forward, we're right along, right where we want to be. So again, here's, you know, there's some that are right on target, some a little more, some a little less, but yeah, we're right where we need to be. And you can see, you know, this particular one, we extended about 64%, you know, a little higher, but we're right on target.
Okay, our final goal, Moreland attracts, develops, and retains a diverse workforce that represents our students and community. And we have some really positive data points here. Teachers in appropriate assignments, 98%. It's very high, especially when you compare to other districts. And well, we don't have our teacher retention until the end of the year. We've continued to have a very high retention rate. And very,
What is that? Like, how does that look when you're saying something like appropriately assigned teachers? Can you help me understand that?
so go ahead and jump in.
If they're waiting to get their CLAD bridge, that would come up as inappropriately assigned until they turn in the paperwork to get that bridge. It doesn't-
Oh, okay.
Can't teach. It might be that something, we're waiting on some paperwork.
Okay.
It might be, if we had a sub fill in that's, doesn't have everything in for the credential, but they can teach the assignment.
Okay.
So
Usually more of a paperwork mismatch than in.
it's a paperwork mismatch, yeah.
Okay.
They need certain things turned in at certain times,
Okay. It's not like, oh, this teacher is not
not qualified.
qualified to teach and therefore, but they're still in the classroom. It has nothing to do with that.
No.
So when teachers are assigned on like the emergency credentials, do they go under appropriately or is it still?
They're appropriately assigned because it's,
Okay.
but it's their only emergency credentials are for so many days. Then if they go beyond that, then it would be
Inappropriate.
appropriately assigned, but they're still qualified.
Got it.
So that might be if like a teacher didn't come back from leave unexpected, or a teacher left, and then we have to fill with somebody until we get a teacher who's appropriately assigned.
Yeah. Because the only reason I ask is just from a layperson's point of view, reading that, it's like, well, you have 5% inappropriately assigned teachers. What does that even mean? And it's like, it's not what the
Right.
word means. It's more of, you didn't submit your paperwork.
Yes, or you're waiting on paperwork.
Are you waiting for paperwork? Thank you.
Right. Right, and again, I was speaking about the great HR department, we're finding all kinds of ways to recruit new, creative, whether it's through digital or social media. We're having like the fair that Dr. Cobb spoke about earlier. These are all ways to bring people into Moreland as staff. And I think the other thing that I'd like to highlight is, given the reports from the governor's budget, we have to be thinking about being fiscally responsible, but how do we also find ways to stay competitive in this kind of changing landscape? And I think we've been very creative over the last couple of years and trying to change the salary schedule and trying to make things more attractive. And I think we've accomplished that to a large degree. And so I think we're in a really good place. And I think our creativity will also be needed again. And looking forward to seeing what the magicians are able to come up. I do think one thing that's special about Moreland is our retention is something that should always be celebrated and highlighted, that people do stay here.
Actually, I know this in the past, there was concerns about our substitute pool. We did a lot of really good work in kind of getting that pool appropriately staffed, etc. How comfortable are you with where we are right now?
So we're comfortable because our substitutes are now saying we're not giving them enough work.
Okay.
So we're at that kind of balance point of, we do have more people who like have applied that we can dig through,
Okay.
but we don't want to bring more on
Right.
when you could also lose really good substitutes because we're not giving them enough work.
Fair enough.
So we did attract a ton. We went through speed dating interviews and we
Yeah.
onboarded a whole bunch of subs.
And we also hold them to a professional line. If we feel like they're not meeting our Moreland expectations for a sub, we have released some of the substitutes because they haven't met our expectations and when they're interacting with students and staff. So we do want to also be careful that we hold that bar.
Yeah.
Our substitute teachers should be held to the same standard of professionalism and handled with kids as one of our own teachers. So yeah, I think we're staffed. Sometimes we do have to use the agency, but a lot less than in the past
Okay.
and not enough to do another huge hiring pool.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to hear. Thank you.
Mhm.
And again, we're right in line of where we want to be as far as our mid-year expenditures, and then as we get into June, we'll do a final expenditure and so. I would like to point out there is one year error on this, 24-25, which is 25-26. So, I know, so. We'll make that fix, it'll only be the date that gets changed.
Okay.
With 100% increase in charts, it's tough to keep up with.
Any further questions?
I'll turn it to the board. Any other questions? I've asked mine along the way.
No, thank you so much for sharing with.
I appreciate the work that was put into this. It really helps to see how you got tied in the goals and how to visually see that and at a mid-year review and see what actions are being taken and how those are being implemented. It's really helpful to understand and see. Thank you so much for the work.
That's always a question, right? Because we're always curious.
Yeah.
We're taking action or y'all are implementing things and programs and all of that stuff. And I know, we all know that there's tremendous work being done. But also we want to be working as smartly as we can be. And so this really is a really helpful data point.
Absolutely. Clearly a ton of work has gone into this, to the mid-year reviews. So really appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right. Having said that, I do believe that action is necessary. Do I have a motion to approve the 2026 LCAP mid-year report?
So moved.
I'll make a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to the consent items. Any questions on the consent items? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent items?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items in aggregate.
Right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Future meeting dates? Any updates?
So you're not here for the February.
Yeah, I'm gonna be absent for the February 10th meeting. And we have a board retreat on the 1st,
This Sunday.
the Sunday. It is the Sunday.
It is this Sunday. But it's not Super Bowl Sunday. Thank you.
It is or it is not?
It is not.
It is not.
Oh,
It is not.
shoot.
Okay.
Because I might have been absent.
Which, oh, I know. Congratulations to you and the Seahawks.
The Seahawks are going to take it off.
Yeah.
Give you a pass.
All right, any other comments on future meeting dates? Announcements, reminders, requests? I do have a request. Please take a look at the spring site visit schedule and sign up appropriately so that then we can work with Debbie to kind of get the meetings on the calendar. All right. Anything else? All right. If nothing, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all.